The starship crashed on Earth during a stormy night in the mountains. Smoke rose from the broken metal shell as rain poured down. Lena saw the flash of light from her cabin window. She grabbed her raincoat and flashlight, then rushed into the forest. Her boots sank into mud as she followed the path of broken trees. Lena found the ship in a small clearing. The metal glowed with strange symbols. She had never seen anything like it before. Her heart beat fast, but she was not afraid. She was curious. She had always believed there was life beyond Earth. Now proof lay before her. A section of the ship slid open with a hiss. Lena stepped back, holding her breath. A slim figure stumbled out and fell to the wet ground. The creature looked almost human, but with blue skin that seemed to glow in the darkness. Her ears came to delicate points and her hair was white as snow. Her eyes, when she opened them, were pure silver with no pupils. Lena moved forward slowly. The alien woman tried to crawl away, but seemed too weak. Lena held up her empty hands to show she meant no harm. The alien watched her with those strange silver eyes. Then she pointed back at the ship and made urgent sounds in a musical language. Lena understood the alien needed help with something inside the ship. She nodded and approached the opening. Inside, she found 3 small creatures in a padded container. They looked like tiny dragons with shimmering scales. One was red, one blue, one green. They made soft, chirping sounds. Their wings were thin and delicate. Their eyes were large and intelligent. The alien woman made motions for Lena to bring the container. Lena carefully lifted it and carried it outside. The rain had stopped now, and moonlight broke through the clouds. The alien stroked each little dragon and whispered to them. They seemed calmer at her touch, using gestures. Lena invited the alien to her cabin. The woman hesitated, but the night was cold, and the dragons needed warmth. She finally nodded. Lena led, the way through the forest, checking often to make sure the alien could follow. The woman was tall and moved with grace despite her weakness. The cabin was small, but warm. A fire burned in the stone fireplace. Lena cleared space on the table for the dragon container. The alien woman sank into a chair, her silver eyes taking in everything. The dragons chirped and flapped their tiny wings, exploring their container. Lena made hot tea and offered a cup. The alien sniffed it, then took a small sip. Her eyes widened in surprise. She drank more eagerly. Lena prepared a simple meal of bread and soup. The alien watched every movement carefully. When Lena offered food, she examined each item before tasting. They could not speak to each other, but they found ways to communicate. The alien pointed to herself and said, "Illyra." Lena did the same, giving her own name. Illyra pointed to each dragon and named them Ruby, Sky, and Ivy. She made it clear they were precious to her, the last of their kind. That night, Lena gave Illyra her bed and made a place for herself on the couch. She heard Illyra singing softly to the dragons. The sound was unlike any human music, sad but beautiful. Lena wondered about the world Illyra had come from and why she had left it. Days passed. Illyra grew stronger. The dragons grew bigger. They were the size of kittens now and moved around the cabin freely. Ruby, the red dragon, was always exploring Sky. The blue one studied everything with careful eyes, Ivy. The green dragon stayed close to Illyra or sometimes curled up with Lena as she read. Lena taught Illyra English using books and pictures. Illyra learned quickly. Her voice made the human language sound like music. Illyra showed Lena how to care for the dragons. They needed special food and exercise. Their wings needed to stretch each day. Their scales needed gentle cleaning. Summer turned to fall. Lena rarely went to town now. She had everything she needed at the cabin. She felt protective of Illyra and the dragons. She worried what might happen if others discovered them. Some nights they sat on the porch and Illyra pointed to stars, showing Lena where her homeworld had been. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Illyra spoke in careful English. She told Lena her world was dying. When she left, resources were gone. Wars had destroyed much of the planet. The dragons, once plentiful, were nearly extinct. Illyra was a dragon guardian. She was sent to find a new home, but her ship was damaged in space. She had drifted for years before. Finding Earth, Lena asked why Elira had been chosen for such an important mission. Elira looked away. Her voice grew soft. She explained she was considered expendable. Her status among her people was low. She had no family, no mate, no children. She was chosen because no one would miss her if she never returned. This made Lena sad. She told Elira about her own lonely life. Her husband had died 5 years ago. They had no children. Her parents were gone. She had few friends. She had moved to the mountains to find peace and solitude. But now she realized how empty her life had been as fall turned colder. The dragons began to change. They grew even faster now. Ruby could fly the length of the cabin. Sky learned to mimic words in both human and Elira's language. Ivy discovered she could produce small flames when excited. Lena worried they would soon be too large for the cabin. Elira suggested they build an enclosure behind the cabin where the dragons could grow and exercise safely. They worked together, cutting wood and stretching special mesh that Elira created from materials in her ship. The dragons watched with interest as their new home took shape. When the enclosure was finished, the dragons explored it with excitement. They flew from perch to perch. Their wings grew stronger each day. They learned to hunt small animals. Elira trained them to come when called to stay quiet, when strangers might be near. Lena marveled at the bond between Elira and the dragons. It was deeper than anything, between humans and animals. Winter brought snow to the mountains. The dragons were fascinated by it. They rolled in it, made tunnels, dug caves. Their body heat melted patterns in the drifts. Elira seemed worried by the cold. She had never experienced such low temperatures. Lena gave her warm clothes and taught her about winter. One night as snow fell heavily outside, they sat by the fire. The dragons slept in a pile of shimmering scales. Elira showed Lena a small device that projected images of her world before it died. Beautiful cities floating above green oceans, massive dragons flying through pink clouds, people with blue skin living in harmony with nature. Then she showed the end, the oceans turning black, the cities falling, the dragons dying, the people fighting over what remained. Tears fell from Elira's silver eyes. She was the last of her kind. The dragons were the last of theirs. Together, they carried the final memories of a world that no longer existed. Lena took Elira's hand. They sat in silence watching the fire, both understanding what it meant to be alone, both grateful they had found each other. Spring arrived, bringing new life to the mountain. The snow melted, revealing green shoots. Lena and Elira expanded the dragon enclosure. The creatures had grown to the size of large dogs now. Their wings spanned 6 feet each. Their scales glittered. In the sunlight, Ruby could now breathe streams of fire that burned hot and bright. Sky had mastered human speech and could hold simple conversations. Ivy had developed the ability to blend with her surroundings, becoming nearly invisible when she wished. Elira spent hours each day training the dragons. She taught them to control their abilities to hunt without being seen, to understand complex commands. Lena watched in amazement as the bond between Elira and the dragons grew stronger. She could communicate with them without speaking. They sensed her emotions and responded to her thoughts. Lena began teaching Elira about human society. She brought books and videos from town. She explained Earth customs, governments, technologies. Elira was fascinated by human history. She said humans reminded her of her own people long ago before they evolved further. They shared stories comparing their worlds, finding surprising similarities and differences. One warm day as they worked in the garden planting vegetables, Elira asked about human families. She seemed especially interested in how parents treated children. Lena explained different family structures, how most parents loved and protected their children, how families supported each other through good times and bad. Elira grew quiet. Her silver eyes looked distant. She finally shared more about her own past. On her world, she had been created, not born. She was designed to be a dragon keeper. Her status was that of a tool, not a person. She had never known parents, never experienced family love. She had been trained from creation to care for dragons, nothing more. Her people saw her as expendable. That was why she was chosen for the desperate mission to find a new world. Lena felt anger rise within her. How could anyone treat a being as intelligent and gentle as Elira like a tool? She told Elira that on Earth, she would be considered a person with rights and value. Elira smiled at this, but her eyes held doubt as they talked the dragons. Played nearby, Sky suddenly froze. He tilted his head listening. Ruby and Ivy also became alert. Elira stood quickly. She could sense what the dragon sensed. Someone was coming. Lena rarely had visitors, especially unannounced. They quickly moved the dragons to their enclosure and covered it with special netting that Elira had designed to hide them from view. A truck came up the long drive to the cabin. A man in a Forest Service uniform stepped out. He introduced himself as Ranger Morgan. He explained. He was checking on residents after reports of strange lights in the sky and unusual weather patterns. Lena kept calm. She introduced Elira as her niece visiting from overseas. The ranger seemed suspicious. He asked many questions. His eyes moved around the property as if looking for something. Inside the cabin, Elira wore a scarf to cover her pointed ears and special makeup to hide the blue tint of her skin. She spoke little, letting Lena do most of the talking. The ranger finally left, but warned he would be patrolling the area more frequently. Lena watched his truck disappear down the mountain road, her heart racing. That night they discussed what to do. If humans discovered Elira and the dragons, there would be danger. Government scientists would want to study them. Military would see them as potential threats. Ordinary people might fear them. Elira suggested they find somewhere more remote. But Lena had a different idea. Lena proposed they prepare for eventual discovery but control. How it happened. They would create a story about Elira being from a remote human community. They would introduce the dragons gradually as a new species. Elira was unsure. She had seen how her own people reacted to difference with fear and control. During summer, they ventured out more often. Elira wore disguises when they went to town. People assumed she was foreign, her accent and mannerisms explained by coming from another country. The dragons remained hidden, but they practiced making short flights. At night, their size and strength increased. They could now carry Elira on their backs. She began taking short flights around the mountain, careful to stay in cloud cover or fly only on dark nights. One evening, Elira invited Lena to fly with her. Lena was scared but also excited. Ruby, the largest and strongest dragon, allowed both women to ride. She launched from the mountain, soaring high above the trees. Lena gasped at the sensation, the wind in her hair, the ground far below, the stars seeming close enough to touch. She understood why Elira loved flying so much. The freedom was unlike anything she had experienced. They flew to a remote lake, landing on the shore. The dragons drank and hunted fish. Lena and Elira talked about their future. Together they had created something special. A family of choice, not blood. They protected and cared for each other. They shared knowledge and skills. They belonged together. Later that summer, strange weather patterns began affecting the mountain. Unusual storms appeared suddenly. Lightning struck without rain. Winds blew in impossible directions. Lena suspected the dragons might be causing these changes. Elira confirmed this. As the dragons grew, their connection to weather strengthened. On her world, adult dragons could control storms, create rain, bring wind. This was why her people valued them. They could heal dying ecosystems. Government weather scientists established a research station in the valley. They set up equipment to study the anomalies. Helicopters flew over the mountain. Lena worried they would be discovered soon. She suggested they move deeper into the wilderness, but Elira had grown tired of hiding. One night, Elira revealed her deepest wish to Lena. She wanted to be accepted. She wanted to belong somewhere. As herself, not in disguise, she wanted what humans called family. She had watched Lena interact with people in town. She had studied human relationships. She believed some humans would accept her and the dragons if given the chance. Lena was not so sure. Humans often feared what they did not understand. But she also knew there were good people. People who would see Elira for the wonderful being she was. People who would protect rather than exploit her. It was a risk, but perhaps one worth taking. They began making a plan. First, they would reveal the truth to one person, someone Lena trusted. They chose Carol, the librarian, who had always been kind and open-minded. They invited her to the cabin for dinner, HFY War. No disguise. The dragons remained hidden for now. Carol was shocked when she met the real Elira. She stepped back in fear, her eyes wide, but Elira spoke gently, explaining her story. Carol listened. She asked questions. Her fear gradually changed to wonder, then to acceptance. By the end of the evening, she had agreed to help them. She suggested they reach out to a professor. She knew someone who studied biology, but also had connections to government officials, someone who might help bridge the gap between Elira and human society. As Carol left, she hugged both Lena and Elira. She promised to keep their secret until they were ready. She said meeting Elira was the most amazing experience of her life. She thanked them for trusting her. Lena felt hope growing. Maybe there was a place for Elira on Earth after all. That night, Elira cried. Her silver tears glowed in the moonlight. She told Lena these were tears of joy. For the first time since arriving on Earth, she felt hope. She dared to imagine a future where she could live openly, where the dragons could fly free, where she might find the family connection she had always longed for. Lena held her hand. Together they looked at the stars, wondering what the future would bring. Professor Kate Winters arrived at the cabin on a crisp fall morning. She was older than Lena had expected, with gray hair and kind eyes. Carol the librarian had prepared her somewhat, but nothing could fully prepare a human for meeting Elira. Kate gasped when she saw the blue-skinned woman with pointed ears and silver eyes. She sat down heavily in a kitchen chair, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was seeing. Elira spoke softly, explaining her origins. The professor listened, asking careful questions, taking notes. Her initial shock gave way to professional curiosity. Then Lena suggested they show her the dragons. Kate followed them to the enclosure behind the cabin. When Ruby, Sky, and Ivy came into view, the professor actually laughed. It was a sound of pure joy and wonder. The dragons were curious about the new human. They approached cautiously. Sky spoke a greeting in clear English. Kate nearly fell over in surprise. The dragon was not only real but intelligent and capable. Of human speech, Ruby demonstrated her fire-breathing ability, creating beautiful patterns of flame in the air. Ivy showed how she could blend with her surroundings, becoming almost invisible. Kate stayed for hours. She examined the dragons with Elira's permission. She studied the remains of the ship. She asked endless questions about Elira's world, the dragons, their abilities, their needs. Finally, as evening approached, she shared her thoughts. She believed Elira and the dragons could find acceptance on Earth, but it would need to be handled carefully. Kate proposed a plan. She had connections with a small group of scientists who worked independently from government or military. They studied unusual phenomena and protected sensitive discoveries from exploitation. She suggested introducing Elira to this group first, building a network of trusted humans who could help integrate Elira into society gradually and safely. Lena was concerned. Would these people truly protect Elira? Or would they see her as a research subject? Kate understood the worry. She suggested they meet her colleagues one at a time. Each person would be carefully chosen for their integrity and compassion. Elira would always have the final say on who was trusted with her secret. Winter returned to the mountain. The dragons were fully grown now. Each was the size of a small horse. Their powers had developed completely. Ruby could create and control fire, not just breathe it. Sky could influence weather, bringing rain. Or clearing clouds. Ivy could heal plants and small animals with her touch. They were magnificent creatures, intelligent and gentle unless threatened. Kate brought her first colleague to the cabin, Dr. Maya Wong, a biologist who specialized in animal communication. She was speechless when introduced to Elira and the dragons, but like Kate, she quickly moved from shock to fascination. The dragons, especially Sky, enjoyed talking with her. They shared information about their species, how they communicated with each other, how they perceived the world. More carefully selected visitors came over the following weeks. A physicist who helped Elira salvage technology from her ship. A botanist who was amazed by the medicinal plants Elira had brought from her world. A linguist who recorded Elira's native language. Each visitor sworn to secrecy, each becoming part of a growing circle of protection around Elira and the dragons. During this time, Lena noticed a change in Elira. She seemed happier, more confident. She spent less time looking at the stars with longing. She spoke of Earth as home. She and Lena created traditions together, celebrating Earth holidays, but adding elements from Elira's world. They cooked meals together, sharing recipes and stories. They built a larger home next to the cabin with special rooms for the dragons one evening. As they sat by the fire, Lena asked Elira a question that had been on her mind. Did she ever regret coming to Earth? Did she miss her own kind? Elira was quiet for a long moment. Then she explained something important. On her world, she had never truly belonged. She was created to serve a purpose, not to be part of society. She had no family, no real connections. But here on Earth, she had found something she never had before. Acceptance, love. A place to belong. The dragons sensed the emotional conversation. They came and surrounded the women. Ruby rested her large head on Lena's lap. Sky spoke softly in both human language and dragon sounds, expressing how they too had found a better life on Earth. Ivy created a soft glow from her scales, illuminating the room with gentle green light. They were a family now. Different species from different worlds, but connected by something stronger than bloodspring. Came again, marking 3 years since Elira's arrival. The small network of trusted humans had grown to 20 people, each bringing different skills, each committed to protecting Elira and the dragons. Kate had secured a larger property deeper in the mountains, a sanctuary where the dragons could fly freely without fear of discovery, a place where Elira could live openly among those who accepted her. The day they moved to the new sanctuary was filled with both excitement and sadness. Lena would miss her cabin, the first home she had shared with Elira, but the new place offered freedom and security they could not have in the smaller location. The dragons seemed to sense the importance of the day. They were solemn as they flew alongside, the trucks carrying their possessions. The sanctuary was beautiful, a valley surrounded by high mountains, a lake in the center, buildings designed to accommodate both humans and dragons, gardens for growing food and medicinal plants, solar power systems, providing energy, weather stations monitoring conditions. Several of their trusted human friends had chosen to live there as well, forming a small community of scientists, artists, and thinkers. That night, Lena and Elira stood on the porch of their new home, watching the dragons fly freely under the stars. For the first time, they could simply exist without constant fear of discovery. The dragons performed aerial displays, breathing fire, creating wind patterns, diving and soaring in perfect harmony. They celebrated their freedom. Inside the main building of the sanctuary, their human friends prepared a special ceremony. Kate had suggested it, Maya had planned it. Others had contributed elements. The humans gathered in a circle. They invited Lena and Elira to the center. They presented them with symbolic gifts representing earth plants, animals, elements. They recited words of welcome and acceptance. They formally acknowledged Elira and the dragons as the first citizens of another world to join the Earth family. Elira wept, her silver tears falling like stars. The dragons surrounded her, each touching her gently with their wings. She had come to Earth expecting to find only a place to survive. Instead, she had found a true home. She had found family. She belonged. Later that night, Elira showed Lena a surprise. She had been working with the physicist to repair a small portion of her ship. Not to leave Earth, but to explore it. They had created a vessel that could fly using dragon power, combined with salvaged technology. It was large enough for both of them and could travel anywhere on the planet. They could see Earth's wonders together. Lena was amazed by the gift. She had never imagined traveling the world. She had lived most of her life in one small area. But now with Elira and the dragons, she had a chance for adventures she had never dreamed possible. They planned their first journey to see the northern lights. The dragons were especially excited by this. They sensed a connection between the auroras and their own energy as they prepared for sleep that night. Elira looked at Lena with her silver eyes. She spoke words she had been practicing in her musical voice. She asked if Lena would formally become her family. In the human way, she wanted them to be mother and daughter, not just friends. Lena felt her heart expand with joy. She had always wanted a child. She had given up that dream years ago, but now in this most unexpected way, her wish had come true. The adoption ceremony was simple but meaningful. Lena and Elira stood before their friends in the sanctuary garden. The dragons formed a circle around them. Professor Kate led the ceremony, combining human tradition with elements from Elira's world. Lena and Elira exchanged promises to protect and care for each other as mother and daughter. They shared symbols important to both cultures. Lena gave Elira a necklace that had belonged to her grandmother. Elira gave Lena a small crystal from her home planet that glowed with inner light. Their friends celebrated with them, sharing food, music, and stories. The dragons performed an aerial dance, creating patterns of fire and light in the evening sky. It was a perfect moment of harmony between species from different worlds. Lena felt complete for the first time since losing her husband, Elira. Finally had the family connection she had always longed for. Life at the sanctuary settled into pleasant routines. The small community worked together, growing food, studying the dragons, learning from Elira about her world and technology. More carefully selected humans joined them, scientists, artists, healers, each bringing unique skills, each committed to protecting the secret of the sanctuary. Dragons continued to develop in surprising ways. Sky's ability to speak expanded to over 5 human languages. Ruby discovered she could create not just fire, but specific types of energy. Ivy's healing powers grew stronger. She could now help with serious human injuries and illness. They formed bonds with the humans at the sanctuary, choosing special friends among them. But they remained most connected to Elira and Lena. And Elira took their first journey in the repaired ship. They traveled, at night flying low over the ocean. Their destination was the Arctic Circle to see the northern lights. The dragons flew alongside them. The sight of the auroras dancing in the sky moved them all to tears. The dragons sensed a connection to the phenomenon. Their scales glowed in response to the lights. Sky explained that the energy was similar to forces on their original world. During their second year at the sanctuary, they received unexpected news. Professor Kate arrived one morning looking worried. She explained that government scientists had detected unusual energy signatures from their location. Satellite images had captured brief glimpses of the dragons during flight. The sanctuary was still secret, but that might not last much longer. They needed to prepare for potential discovery. The community gathered to discuss options. Some suggested moving deeper into wilderness. Others proposed reaching out to government officials, proactively taking control of the narrative. After much debate, they decided on a careful approach. Kate would contact trusted colleagues in government scientific agencies. She would prepare them for the discovery, arrange for first contact under controlled conditions. Kate selected Dr. Alan Reeves, a senior official at a scientific research agency known for his integrity and open mind. She invited him to her university office. She told him part of the truth about Elira, framing it as a significant scientific discovery. She did not reveal the full scope, the dragons, or the sanctuary. She watched his reactions carefully, judging whether he could be trusted. Dr. Reeves was skeptical, but intrigued. He agreed to meet with Kate and one other person at a neutral location. Kate arranged for Elira to attend, wearing her human disguise. During this meeting, Elira revealed her true nature, removing her disguise, showing her blue skin and pointed ears. Dr. Reeves was shocked, but he asked thoughtful questions. His concern seemed to be for scientific understanding, not control or exploitation. After several more meetings with Dr. Reeves, the sanctuary community decided to trust him with the full truth. He was invited to the sanctuary. He met the dragons. He saw the technology Elira had saved. He learned about her world and its destruction. He was overwhelmed but also filled with wonder. He promised to help create a bridge between the sanctuary and the wider human world. Over the following months, Dr. Reeves brought a few carefully selected government officials to the sanctuary. Each visit was controlled. Each visitor evaluated for their reaction. Each person who learned the truth became part of the growing protection around Elira and the dragons. They began developing a plan for gradual revelation to human society. During this time, Lena noticed Elira spending more time with the ship parts. She was building something new. When Lena asked about it, Elira explained she was creating a communication device. She believed there might be others of her kind who had escaped their dying world. Similar missions sent in different directions. She wanted to try contacting them to let them know Earth was safe, that humans could be trusted, that there was a place for them. Here Lena helped Elira with the communication project. They worked together, gathering materials, setting up equipment. The dragons sensed the importance of this work. They contributed their energy to power the device. On the night of the first transmission, the entire sanctuary community gathered. They sent messages into space in Elira's language and in the dragon tongue. They included information about Earth, about humans, about the sanctuary. They sent coordinates, and welcome weeks passed with no response. Elira maintained hope, continuing to send messages each night, adjusting frequencies, trying different approaches. Then one evening, as a storm rolled over the mountains, the communication device activated. A response had come, not words but a series of tones. Elira recognized them as a standard contact protocol from her world. Someone had heard them. Someone was answering. The entire sanctuary erupted in excitement. The message was brief, just enough to establish contact. But it confirmed Elira was not the last of her kind. Others had survived. They were far away but alive. The dragons sensed Elira's joy. They flew circles around the sanctuary buildings, breathing fire, creating wind, dancing in celebration. Sky spoke to the humans, explaining what this meant, not just for Elira, but for the dragons too. The possibility of others of their kind existing somewhere among the stars. Over the following days, they established more communication with the distant ship. They learned it carried 12 of Elira's people and a small number of dragons. They had been traveling for years looking for a suitable world. They were still far away, but could alter course toward Earth if it was truly safe. Elira sent detailed information about her experiences with humans, about the sanctuary, about the acceptance. She had found Dr. Reeves and Professor Kate understood the significance of this development. The arrival of more aliens would change everything. They accelerated their plans for introducing Elira to wider human society. They needed to prepare Earth for first contact on a larger scale. They began by creating educational materials, documentaries, interviews with the sanctuary community. They carefully selected journalists, politicians, religious leaders to visit the sanctuary. Lena worried about these changes. She feared for Elira's safety as more humans learned about her. She had seen the best of humanity in their sanctuary friends, but she knew there were those who would fear or try to exploit beings from another world. She shared her concerns with Elira during quiet evenings as they watched the dragons fly. Elira understood Lena's fears. She too had doubts, but she also had hope. She had experienced the worst of her own people's fear and prejudice, but also found acceptance and love on a strange world. She believed most humans would choose connection over fear. Given the chance, she reminded Lena of their first meeting, how Lena had approached an alien crash with curiosity and compassion, not fear and violence. Together they prepared for the changes coming. The sanctuary expanded, building new structures for future arrivals. They created systems for integrating new aliens into Earth society. They developed protocols for protection and education. They worked closely with Dr. Reeves and his government contacts, ensuring legal protections would be in place. The dragons sensed the approach of others of their kind. Even across the vast distances of space, they felt a connection. They began preparing in their own way, teaching the humans about dragon customs, sharing more of their abilities and needs. Ruby, Sky, and Ivy took on leadership roles, helping the sanctuary community understand what would be required for new dragons. 5 years after Elira first crashed on Earth, the day of revelation finally arrived. After months of careful preparation, Dr. Reeves arranged a global announcement, a press conference where Elira would reveal herself to the world. Lena stood beside, her daughter holding her hand as cameras broadcast the event worldwide. The dragons remained at the sanctuary for now. Their existence would be revealed gradually. Elira spoke with dignity and grace. She told her story. She explained her origins. She described her world and its destruction. She spoke of finding acceptance and family on Earth. She thanked the humans who had protected her. She expressed hope for peaceful integration of her people. She announced that more of her kind were coming. She asked for understanding and cooperation. The world reaction was mixed as expected. Some humans responded with fear, calling for restrictions or control. Others were filled with wonder and excitement, welcoming the chance to learn from beings from another world. Religious leaders debated the significance. Scientists clamored for access to Elira and her technology. Government officials called emergency meetings to discuss policy. Through it all, the sanctuary community protected Elira. They managed public appearances. They screened interview requests. They provided security. They ensured she could retreat to safety when needed. Lena rarely left her side, reminding Elira that no matter what happened in the wider world, she had a family who loved her. She belonged. 6 months after the announcement came another milestone. The dragons would be revealed. Ruby Sky and Ivy had prepared for this moment. They understood its importance. They knew they represented not just themselves, but all dragons, past and present. They would show humans the true nature of their species: intelligent, gentle, powerful, but peaceful. The revelation took place at a special facility built near the sanctuary, a large open space where the dragons could fly safely. Carefully, selected journalists, scientists, and officials were invited to witness the dragons in flight. Lena and Elira presented Ruby Sky and Ivy, explaining their abilities, their intelligence, their connection to Elira's people. When the dragons took flight, gasps echoed through the crowd. Ruby created beautiful patterns of flame in the sky. Sky spoke in multiple human languages. Greeting the visitors, Ivy demonstrated her healing powers, helping a plant grow from seed to flower in minutes. The humans watched in awe. Here were creatures from legend, real and magnificent beyond imagination. The images of dragons flying above Earth were broadcast globally, becoming the most viewed event in human history. Children drew pictures of them. Schools created lessons about them. Scientists began studying the implications of their abilities. Artists created works inspired by them. The dragons became symbols of possibility, of the wonders the universe might hold. 1 year after the public revelations came, the moment Elira had been waiting for, the ship carrying her people entered Earth orbit. After careful preparations coordinated with governments worldwide, the new arrivals landed at the sanctuary. They emerged from their ship weak from long travel, but overjoyed to find safety. Elira greeted them in their shared language. The dragons welcomed the new dragons with aerial displays and fire ceremonies. Lena watched with mixed emotions. She was happy for Elira to reunite with her kind, but she worried, too. Would Elira still need her now? Would she still want a human mother when she had her own people again? She stood back as Elira introduced the new arrivals to Earth customs and foods. That night, Elira found Lena sitting alone by the lake. She sat beside her, taking her hand. They watched the stars together. Elira spoke softly, explaining something important. Among her people, there had never been family as humans understood it. They were created, not born. They lived to serve a purpose, not to love. But Elira had learned about family from Lena. She had experienced what it meant to be someone's daughter, what it meant to be loved unconditionally. She would always need Lena. Nothing would change that. The sanctuary grew into a small town, a place where humans and aliens lived together, learning from each other. The dragons thrived, their numbers slowly increasing as the rescued dragons mated and had offspring. Each new generation born on Earth connected to both worlds. Scientists studied dragon abilities, finding applications for healing energy, creation, weather management. Always with respect, always with care for the dragons. Well-being Elira became a bridge between worlds. She helped her people adapt to Earth. She helped humans understand alien perspectives. She created educational programs, cultural exchanges. She worked with governments to establish rights and protections for non-Earth beings. She never forgot what she had learned from Lena, that acceptance and love could cross any boundary even between stars. Lena watched her daughter with pride. Elira had grown from a frightened refugee into a leader. She had found her purpose not in serving as she had been created to do, but in connecting worlds and building understanding. She had taken her greatest wish to belong and expanded it, creating a place where all could belong. 10 years after the crash landing, Lena and Elira stood together on a mountain overlooking the sanctuary, now a thriving community of humans and aliens working together. Below them, dragons flew freely alongside human aircraft. Children, both human and alien, played together in the fields. Scientists of both species conducted research side by side. Ruby Sky and Ivy, the first Earth dragons, had become leaders of their kind. They helped integrate new dragons. They taught the offspring. They worked with humans to develop protocols for dragon-human interaction. They remained especially close to Lena and Elira, often spending evenings with them, sharing memories of those first days together. Lena, now older but still strong, reflected on the incredible journey she had been alone, grieving, isolated. Then a ship fell from the sky, bringing an alien woman and 3 small dragons into her life. She had taken a chance, opening her heart, her home, her world. Now that simple act of compassion had changed the course of human history, had saved 2 species from extinction, had created a new kind of family. That night they celebrated the anniversary of Elira's arrival. The entire community gathered for a festival, humans and aliens sharing food music stories. The dragons performed aerial displays, lighting the sky with fire and color. Ruby Sky and Ivy led the youngest dragons in traditional patterns, teaching them their heritage. During the celebration, Elira made an announcement. The communication device had picked up signals from other surviving groups of her people. Small pockets of survivors scattered across space searching for home. She and HFY. Her team would send messages of welcome, coordinates for Earth, information about the sanctuary. She looked at Lena as she spoke. The sanctuary had begun with one human opening her heart to a stranger. Now it would expand, offering hope to all who needed a new beginning later. As the celebration continued, Elira and Lena walked together along the lake shore. The 3 original dragons followed Ruby Sky and Ivy, now massive and magnificent creatures, but still gentle with those they loved. They spoke of the future, of new arrivals, of expanding the sanctuary model to other locations, of the children, both human and alien, growing up together, knowing only cooperation, not fear. Elira stopped looking up at the stars that had once been her only home. She turned to Lena, the human who had become her mother. She spoke from her heart, thanking Lena for teaching her the meaning of family, for showing her that belonging came not from being created for a purpose, but from being loved for oneself, for giving her the greatest gift anyone could receive, a place to call home. Lena smiled, tears in her eyes. She had once thought her life was over, that purpose and joy had ended with her husband's death. She could never have imagined that the universe would send her a daughter from the stars, that her small act of kindness would grow into something that changed worlds. She embraced Elira, the alien woman with blue skin and silver eyes who had become her family, proving that love recognized no boundaries, not even those between stars.